The off season is now here. We'll talk about that next, coming up on the Wincinnati podcast.
It's an exciting time to be a Bengals fan.
I'm Ace.
We got a special show as always.
The voice of the Bengals. Dan Ford, Willie Anderson, Corey Dillon.
The name of this thing is called Wincinnati, and I'm not going to stop.
Talk to us about that roller coaster season.
I'm still going to give you the same AJ.
I'm going to work as hard as I can to be the best.
Always working ever since I met y'all, boy.
I got to get your top 5 receivers. Better, man.
Watch out for us.
Welcome to the Wincinnati podcast. I am Ace. He is Zim. As I said at the beginning of the show, the Bengals are officially in the offseason. They ended their season of 2023 with a victory over the Browns in blowout fashion. In one word, I will say that game for me, I would say the future. I think the future kind of showed in that game a lot. You got some key contributors in that game, primarily from this class. Jordan Battle gets the interception, Chase Brown, Yoshi with the 2 touchdowns. For me, that's what that game was about. Charlie Jones, we finally actually got to see him get real reps at wide receiver. So to me, that's what I kind of came away with. What were your thoughts on the Browns game?
I thought in the Browns game, I came away with a couple takeaways. If I'm a Browns fan, I think to see my backups, like I get it, they're all backups, but Shelby Harris, Alex Mack, there's some key contributors out there to go all those possessions. 31-0, only 1 first down. I don't know, bro. Like I would feel a certain type of way going into the playoffs like that. That's just me. Same thing I think on the Eagles side too. Like I thought they looked really bad going into what they were going to. The on our end though, like you said, I think you hit on on the different parts, and I think later in the show we're going to talk about like some of the unrestricted free agents, and I think some of those guys that we got to make some decisions on. I thought like a Yoshi who is not an unrestricted, that's a rookie, kind of talk to you about some of the guys like a Tyler Boyd who are now kind of seen as like we're thinking is gone. And, like it was a lot of different things that I thought showed their hand. The one thing I thought one of my biggest takeaways in that game is like Dax Hill versus third string wide receivers giving up 2 touchdowns like late in that game. I put both of those touchdowns on him. I do not feel good. Like in our offseason plan, I'm going to be looking at veteran safeties like Mike Edwards, Micah Hyde, like these guys that are going to be out there. They might be like low-level vet safeties, but I do not trust Dax Hill.
So let's get into that. So you're saying you don't trust – because there's a lot of people that feel that way. Like there's some people that are saying move on from Dax Hill, bring in some – I don't think you're saying move on. You're just saying bring in competition to have somebody go against him. The only thing that I would say, I agree with you. I think Nick Scott is the guy that has to go, unfortunately, and that's no offense to him. I just think the way that the situation played out, it was not a good return on investment. It did not work out. And we need a guy, like you said, that's more seasoned to be back there. The only thing that I would say is with it being Dax's kind of first year, I don't know if I'm ready to pull the plug on him thus far, but there needs to be some kind of competition. It can't just be handed to him like it was last season. But I would like to see from this coaching staff some development, some growth with Dax Hill, because I felt like he started off the season good, but as the season went on, there were a lot of miscommunications, a lot of issues on the back end that he was partly, it seemed, responsible for. I don't know the defense. I'm not going to sit here and perp like I do, but there's a lot of people that have watched it, and a lot of people have kind of started to criticize Dax Hill. But I think as a young player, you're always going to have growing pains. But I completely agree with Zim that you have to bring in some kind of veteran presence there. They were severely missing that. And the veteran that they had was a guy that played special teams for the most part of his career, came in being in a situation where the starter got hurt, played in a Super Bowl, right? But far from a guy that had, 6 to 8 years. And I think DJ Reader mentioned that in terms of the experience there. So, no, I agree with you. They got to have a plan at safety. They got to do something there. They might have to have a plan for the coaching staff. We kind of talked about Callahan, right? Brian Callahan, as it stands now, he's expected to interview with the Tennessee Titans. He's expected to interview with the Panthers and the Chargers for a head coaching position. And I believe one of them, he's actually going on his second interview with that. What are your thoughts like on Brian Callahan if he is to be taken up by one of these teams? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I mean, I don't know what to think of Callahan because I never know how much involved he is. But the one thing that came out that was kind of shocking to me is they did the NFLPA poll, which they had some all pros today that came out. A lot of people had some things to say about it, but they had him as one of the top offensive coordinators in the league, which was kind of shocking to me. What are your thoughts like if Callahan is to go? What would you do? How would you feel about it?
First of all, I feel like the Bengals all-season plan. One of the things that I highlighted is I think they need a couple new voices in the room. That's not an overhaul. I think if you follow, like most of the time when we talk about stuff, I always kind of fall like middle of the line. And I know a lot of people don't like that. I think there's always somebody that's probably watching this and saying, fire Zach, fire Callahan, get rid of him. I'm never that guy, even though I have like loud celebrations when we do something good, I guess. But for me, I don't want to overhaul the room. I just want to have some brand new voices. If that ends up being what the plan that would happen if Callahan was to leave is Dan Pitcher. And Dan Pitcher is the quarterback's coach currently right now. Dan Pitcher was thought to be, and I think he'll get a couple of interviews as well. Joe Burrow's very high on Dan Pitcher. Dan Pitcher is part of that brain trust. That brain trust when they come up with these, their scheme and what they're going to do for that incoming week of football. So for me to go to Dan Pitcher, I think it gives them a bit of a new voice at that OC position. Then of course you got to go get a new quarterbacks coach. Our friend of the show, Troy Walters, that's another name that you could see. I could see him elevate into an OC somewhere else or whatever. And so if a couple of those little pieces like that go, I'm not upset with a couple of different minds because the way that Zach Taylor does it and how he comes up with this game plan, I think he involves all these people and you get like this nucleus of ideas and then you spit it out. And if you got somebody that has a little bit more balance to their offense, I would be more in favor of that because I don't think throwing is something that they need much help with. I think most of the designs and the concepts that Callahan and Pitcher and this brain trust that they have, I think most of them are pretty spot on. When you go watch like stuff like QB coach, what's the guy's name? I can't think of his name. JT O'Sullivan and stuff like that. He talks about the route concepts and he thinks that they're doing really good. And that's somebody who I trust his opinion. And they're not doing anything, special, I guess. But maybe they bring in somebody that has a brand new voice that has something a little bit more special to him. I'm not sure, but it's not the end of the world if Callahan left. If he stayed, I'm cool with that too. I still think that they need voices, maybe in the run game coordinator. You had a tweet earlier about offensive line coach with Willie Anderson. And that's a guy I think will be awesome with that. I don't know about run game coordinator with him. I don't put nothing past Willie. But like coming up with scheming, hey, look, we called these 18 plays versus this look. We come with I don't know if Willie knows that. He might say, yeah, I do. And I'm like, cool, let's run it. But even him in the building, to me, I think that's a brand new voice. That's a whole new person that loves the team that can have and add some value. And that's the type of stuff I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think two things that you hit on. Like it seems to be, and it kind of seemed that last year they kind of hinted at this. They gave Dan Pitcher a salary that's more indicative that he would become the offensive coordinator. I'm not so sure that's the right move. You brought up Troy Walters. Like when I look at Dan Pitcher's resume right now, right? Wide receivers coach at Sunwide Cortland in 2012, offensive assistant for the Bengals for 2 years, assistant quarterbacks coach for a year. Then he became the quarterbacks coach. Whereas Troy Walters, this is a guy he started off as an offensive coordinator in 2009, receivers coach at Texas A&M and NC State. Then at UCF for 2 seasons, he was the offensive coordinator. And then he was also the offensive coordinator for Nebraska. So for me, I feel like if I'm hearing that, it seems like Troy Walters is a guy that really should have a realistic opportunity of getting the offensive coordinator position. And we do know that he does call a little bit of the red zone plays, whereas I'm not, mad if it is Dan Pitcher, but I just think that Troy Walters deserves that shot, especially with him getting interviews at other places in terms of that. So it'll be interesting what they do there. So I think in that terms, I would actually probably side with Walters on that. And then you kind of talked about the offensive line. Like a lot of people are saying, what's going on with Pollock. That's just my personal opinion. I feel like when there is a area that this coaching staff can upgrade, I think it is that. I think if it's not a college coach or something like that, it has to be Willie Anderson. And there's a lot of people that are going to say, oh, what is his resume? I don't know. Just a guy that's about to be in the Hall of Fame as a right tackle, just a guy that trains with professionals at that level. You talk about Andrew Thomas, you talk about Broderick Jones, Paris Johnson. I mean, the list goes on with this guy. He is a guy that teams are already paying to consult and work with on these guys. And Willie Anderson has said in private conversations, not specifically about the Bengals, but in offensive line coaching in general in the NFL, it sucks. Guys are doing stuff that's outdated, that's really not working. And he feels like he can bring something in terms of his knowledge to the table. This has been a guy, and a lot of people are going to talk about, oh, did he recommend Jackson Carman? I will tell you right now, he was not speaking to Jackson Carman or training Jackson Carman around that time that happened. Jackson Carman started training with another person and stuff like that. They asked him about Jackson Carman, and even though, they were not really speaking at the time, he was able to vouch for him. However, he also told them about other great players that we have seen. I mean, in this last draft class, he trained about 5 or 6 linemen that were drafted in this draft. So a lot of people get that. But another thing I will say is everybody talks about Willie, but Paul Alexander had a lot to do with some of those guys, including Jackson Carman and a lot of these guys after he was no longer with the Bengals being taken in terms of insight, way more than Willie. So just because Willie knew Jackson Carman and, just had good things to say about him does not classify his knowledge as an offensive line coach whatsoever. So I think he would be a great fit for the Bengals. I don't know why they wouldn't even interview him for it. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of a situation where if you bring Willie Anderson into the fold with a Frank Pollock or anybody,
I think that will go crazy.
Players are going to listen to Willie Anderson. They're not going to listen to one of the coaches.
Maybe the personalities, maybe Zach sees something. One thing that I think that no coach wants, this is a guy, Frank Pollock, I don't know his salary, but I know it's over $750,000. Like nobody really wants someone to say, I don't like what you're doing, do it this way. So like maybe it's something behind the scenes that we don't know as far as like, they don't want someone feeling like somebody stepping over their toes.
Somebody stepping on their toes, exactly.
And I know the way that Willie is too. He's very big on not stepping on people's toes too. So, so it could be a situation like that. I just think him as a consultant or someone to say, hey, look, this is how this block is executed. Just the foundational products of whatever they're running. I want every single reach block to look like this. I want every single wham block to look like that. I think like he could help out a lot with that. And then how they figure out, everything from that point on, I think would be, up to him. But who knows? So a lot of people have asked about that coaching stuff, like with Callahan going. I think the plan is in place for Dan Pitcher, the quarterback's coach, to be the next in line. A couple people asked me about Lou Anarumo. I think because of the defense being on such a low level this year. Yeah. Excuse me, been so low this year. I don't know if anybody's going to be calling him. I'm not sure. But what do you think about that? You think Lou Anarumo is still like a hot name out here?
I think because of the way, like you said, the defense played this season, I can't see it. I mean, there's so many other candidates out there that finished with better defenses. I mean, you talk about McDonald, right? Finishing in the top 5. Those are going to be hot names, especially the fact that he was able to do that, I believe, 2 years in a row. I think right now there's just some hotter names. You talk about Dan Quinn, that's another guy who also had head coaching experience, took the Falcons to a Super Bowl. So there's just on the defensive side, I feel like more names out there. And I think Callahan, whether it's fair or not, he has the last name Callahan. You hear the names like Callahan, Shanahan, and Gruden, like, you're going to get a look just based off of that last name. And obviously when people think about the Bengals, they think about offense. You don't really think about the defense. Now, is that fair? No. However, the defense did not play up to par this season. So I think you're basing that off of how the defense played, and being that they didn't play well this season, I don't think that you're going to see as many people interviewing for Lou. Let's go ahead.
We're in the same boat. I was just gonna say, yeah, I just think that we're in the same boat. I don't know what the plan would be if Lou were to leave, but there are some hot names out there. I don't know if defensive coaches find the Bengals attractive. I know offensive coaches do. I'm pretty sure the Bills will be very interested in getting Brady back. So
that's where I feel like you might have to dive into college ranks a little bit. Like you think like McDonald, right? Like technically he coached in the NFL. Gone. He was on the Ravens staff. He was on the Ravens staff, but then he went back to Michigan for I think like a season or two, and then the Ravens wanted to bring him back. I wouldn't be opposed to looking into the college pool because I feel like where else are you going to get good coaches, new fresh ideas, and guys that are familiar with what's happening at the college level? So I wouldn't be opposed to that. Jamar and T, you had some thoughts on some of the stuff that they've been saying. They've been kind of making the rounds together, and I think that that's symbolic, right? Like, this is my guy. You know, we are actually cool. We're doing business together. I just can't see these guys splitting up. What were your thoughts on some of the stuff that they had to say being interviewed together?
I think business is business, so I don't read into it as much. They're just like brothers, though, when you see them around each other. Tyler Boyd's the same way, you know, and I don't read into it too much, but I do think, you know, that's a bit of a statement, though, right after the season. They're just so linked in, too, and then we'll see how it goes, man. Like, I thought – so if you haven't seen this, guys, everybody they did a Bounty commercial. They also had an ESPN interview where they talked about who do they think is going to win the Super Bowl. Tee Higgins says the Ravens. Jamar Chase then replies on the Chiefs. He says anybody but the Chiefs. And that's just part of his personality. I thought it was funny, and I don't know, like I don't feel like talking to Chiefers, so I didn't retweet it. But aside from that, like it was pretty good. Our friend of our show, our producer or our ex-producer, Ryan. He had an opportunity too with TMZ Sports too, so make sure y'all check that out. That's gonna pop up as well too. So they are making their round. So we're gonna see how that goes, but I think that that's a good sign. Do you think that maybe I'm being like naive by thinking that it means anything, or like?
No, I mean that's the way that I looked at it as well. I mean, you can just kind of tell, even if you're not familiar with those guys, that T and Jamar are really tight. Like, this hasn't been something new that we're seeing. When Jamar went to the Pro Bowl last year, who was right there with him? Who did he go and throw his stuff into the stands with and celebrate with? It was Tee Higgins. I think these dudes, you know, they are on the same vibe. They're on the same wavelength. And I think that they're willing to do things and take opportunities and make sure that they're doing business together. I mean, they play on the same team. They're two young stars. So no, I don't think that you're crazy for thinking that. It doesn't sound like a guy that's trying to distance himself from Jamar Chase. It seems like, nah, we in this together. We clicked up, we brothers in business, and we're going to do things together. And I think that that's dope. And I think that is indicative of this Bengals team. Whenever they have opportunities, it seems like whether it's them on offense or on defense, they're looking out for each other.
I have another one where I feel as though I am going to read into it. The Joe Burrow press conference.
Yes.
Hear me out. The Joe Burrow press conference was major. And I don't know why people aren't talking about that press conference as much as I felt like that was very impactful. First and foremost, Joe Burrow did not have to talk to the media at all. He had no obligations. He did not have to. He made himself available. He came to that press conference. He talked about Tee Higgins wants to be here. I want Tee Higgins to be here. I expect Tee Higgins to be here. He also said, in my contract, there are things to ensure that Tee Higgins will be here. And if you look at the structure of Joe Burrow's contract, the early stages of it are like 20-something million that get pushed further down the line that he could have easily took on the early stages of his thing. His signing bonus was a little under $40 million. To put that into perspective, Daniel Jones only got $4 million less than a signing bonus. So Joe Burrow could have opted to take that early on, and he didn't. And I thought he was sending a message to the front office by saying, I expect him to be here. The one thing you can't do is the Cincinnati Bengals front office, and this is what we were saying 2-3 years ago before Joe Burrow got here, is that he puts institutional pressure on your organization to do right by him. Now, long term, he doesn't control that. I don't think the Bengals control that, but I think he single-handedly kind of killed the fact that people are saying tag and trade. I think he's saying, no, I expect him to play. The players in the locker room want him to play. I'm gonna take what I just said right there in that instance. You tell me, what did you take from that press conference? And then my second question for you is this: if there is no Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins next to Joe Burrow, what makes the Bengals special?
I mean, I think it's symbolic. Joe went out there and was just straight up like, we want Tee Higgins back. That makes them special. I think Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins makes the Bengals special. I mean, I'm not saying that to throw any shade. So if you are a Bengals player listening to this, that's my opinion, bro. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not saying that you're not a good player, but to me, the core has always been those three guys. Like, you have to keep those three guys together no matter what. And I think that Joe Burrow was very committal on his stance on that, right? Like, I think even more so than Jesse Bates. Like, we've seen him in a Jesse Bates kind of situation. We kind of saw it with Tyler Boyd, but with Tee Higgins, it's like, yeah, we need Tee back. We expect Tee back. Multiple times he's saying that. So I think that it's extremely important that a guy of his stature, and they even asked him, like, what's your new contract? Do you have things set in place? And he was like, yeah, we're prepared for that. I mean, to me, I just don't see, if this guy wants him, how the Bengals let him go.
And, you know, like that, to me, I had to have a real conversation with myself. And fans got to do this too. Can the Bengals win without Tee Higgins? Sure. Like, we learned that without Tee Higgins, you can run the ball, you can do all these different things, but we need to evolve into that. If you're asking me, it's a reason why everybody puts a Tee Higgins Photoshop on their respective teams currently right now. Chiefs fans, all these guys like that, because they recognize how special this guy is. And when I think about my favorite team, there's somebody listening right now that said, yeah, we could do without Tee Higgins. Go take the first round pick. Okay, cool. I'm not even against it. But if you're having a real conversation about your team, what makes the Bengals special? If the defense is playing at that level, you got a young secondary. You don't got a D line because Reader's now gone. The linebackers took a step back this past season, and I like Cam Taylor-Britt. What we seen 1 year of good Cam Taylor-Britt, right? So then I go to the offense side of the ball. We don't even know if Mixon's going to be there for sure. We're going to find that out in March though, for sure. But the wide receivers, Joe Burrow, that's what makes them special. And then you build everything around it, to me. And there are other ways that we could figure out to do it, but that, to me, I thought Joe Burrow was making it very clear. That's what I want, and that's what I expect. And I thought that was major. I was so surprised to see like PFF and all these other. I didn't see a lot of graphics for that, and I was like, he said a lot, and I thought he purposely said all that.
And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, try to be a victim or anything, but it's like they do not want the Bengals to keep those three players. And, I mean, that's fine, but this is the NFL, and if we're going to do that, we're going to do that. It doesn't matter if you want the Bengals to keep him. It doesn't matter if you want him on the Chiefs. It doesn't matter if you want him on the Patriots. It doesn't matter if you want him wherever. If Joe Burrow wants that guy on the team, that's what it is. Like, he's staying here. So you didn't want Joe Burrow in the Natty anyway, and look what happened with that. So you can want all of these things to happen. That doesn't mean that it'll happen if the Bengals take care of business. But you talked about some of those UFAs. You mentioned DJ Reader. Let's talk about some of those UFAs in terms of who we expect back, who we don't expect back.
I'm going to go off of the list. I wrote one. I actually had a tweet on it. But let's go through the list. I'm going to go through every single person. I'm going to just name each one. DJ Reader. Let's do a speed round. You say, are we keeping them or can they go? Or you can maybe say
DJ undecided. Reader. I'm going to say that they keep him. I think the injury opened it up. If you would have told me before the injury, I would have said he would have been gone.
I think keep him too. Tee Higgins.
I think they're keeping him.
Okay. Josh Tupou.
Think he's gone.
I think they keep him. I feel like the defensive line is so bad right now. Like they're just gonna need bodies.
That's why I want to clear house, but nah, you got it.
I just feel like they should bring some guys in and then weed those guys out later.
And
like
weed them out. Yeah,
like go get me a 3rd round D tackle again. Go get me D tackles and free
agency.
Have
a battle, see who's
have
the
a
best,
battle,
like,
and then Zach Carter's of the world will all weed themselves out or whatever. All right, Drew Sample,
he's back. And that's crazy because I'm a sample hater, but he proved.
Hey, I was the biggest sample hater in the world.
Yeah, I think he proved.
Well, you might have been better. You might be a bigger hater.
It was a huge sample. I literally have a video on Drew Sample when we drafted him. So yeah, definitely me. But Drew Sample, if you're watching this, you did your thing this season.
We need to get Sample on here. Let's get Sample on here.
That
bro.
would be crazy.
I think it's doable. Akeem Davis Gaither.
He's gone.
I just feel like he'll never. If he was in a 3-4, I hate to say
he wants somewhere where he probably has an opportunity to play more, and I feel like that's not gonna happen here.
I'm gonna tell you this, man. I really think the way them 3-4 schemes that we play in the North, he will really. I think he would thrive with some of those things. Tyler Boyd.
I think he's gone. Unfortunately,
gone. Chido Awuzie.
I think he's gone. I think DJ Turner, the writings on the wall.
I think he's gone too, but I could see him as a guy that waits it out after the draft, waiting for a team to get an injury. Maybe they bring him back on like a 1-year prove it, like an
Eli Apple kind of thing.
Eli Apple, yep. I give it like a 12% chance, but that's it. Jonah Williams,
gone. Jonah's gone because he's just gonna get paid. I still feel like he
can play both sides.
You got to remember this dude requested a trade. Like people are gonna like let all of that slide, but like that's why he's non-committal on if he's gonna be back in Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, I think silently in his mind he's like, I hate you guys. Irv Smith.
Oh, he's gone. Sorry,
Irv. Max Sharpen.
He should be gone, but they're probably gonna keep him at least until they get somebody else.
Travion
Williams, he's gone.
AJ McCarron.
I think he's gone just because he's going to go back to like the USFL and like the XFL. I think he likes playing in front of his kids. So I think he's just going to go for that reason. I think he wanted to give it a shot while that season was off. But I think he's gone as well.
I think seeing him in that Browns game too, I just in his dropbacks, like I know it was just he only had like probably like 10, maybe 6 dropbacks.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. But practice squad, if he was up to it, I don't think he's interested in being like just some extra guy walking around, like you're saying. Joe Bocci.
I think he's gone. I think he gets replaced with a draft pick.
And Cody Ford.
I think Cody's gone. I don't. We didn't really get. Well, I guess we did see him. Well, no, I'll say that there's a 50-50 chance he could be back. I don't know if he makes the final roster, but yeah, I say Cody Ford will be back.
Yeah, I think Cody Ford too. I think depth-wise, all those packages where they were bringing an extra, lineman and stuff, they used them in that. Anytime there was anybody went down.
Too? We're gonna do coaches too.
We could do. I mean, you could do Brian. You want to do Callahan?
Callahan.
I think he's gone. I think he's gone. Bro, he had 3 interviews in the span. Like, I don't know if anybody had more interviews than that. Like, that's a hot name. I think he's gone. If you're a Ravens fan too, I will tell you this though. I
think he's gone as well. It seems like because I feel like he's done this before, but I feel like this year just seems different.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. If the Chargers picked Callahan over like there's the other thing out there with like Jim Harbaugh, like where is he gonna land? Because apparently like there's rumors that he wants to coach in the NFL. So like I think that has to kind of fall, I think, before people decide like where Callahan goes. But I think you're right. I think Callahan could be gone.
Let's save some
Frank
of the
Pollard.
other.
Frank
Pollard. I think he stays and everybody's gonna hate it.
Ooh.
I don't think he's gone. Like when Zach came out the other day, if y'all didn't see that, and said we're keeping everybody unless they got promoted. Well, Frank Pollock's not getting promoted.
Oh, that's nasty. I didn't see that.
I think everybody.
Oh,
you didn't see that?
No.
Oh, he said, yeah, we're keeping everybody. He said, unless
I'm
somebody
gonna say
gets
he's
promoted.
going, bro. I'm gonna say he's going. He's going as the run game coordinator. How about that? He's going as the run game.
I would love that. If he was just there, I don't care. But somebody like you see, like what's the Greg Roman, Arthur Smith, guys that have had success in the run game in the NFL that have more creative run styles. I think that those are guys that could contribute. I don't want them to be the O-line. I don't want them to be anything major, but I think that those are teams that could come in and literally say, this is what I've done, and this is why I'm really good. All right, let's go into our final portion at the very end.
Wild card.
We're getting close on time here.
Okay. Let's go speed round. Browns Texans.
Texans all day. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm taking Texans. CJ Stroud.
You taking Texans?
Yes, I'm taking Texans. What?
You're a brownie. You're a brownie defense thumper, though.
Nah, not like that. Nah, not like that. CJ Stroud is different. Dolphins, Chiefs. I'm taking Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Steelers, Bills. I'm taking Bills.
Bills.
Who you taking?
Bills.
Packers, Cowboys.
Cowboys. That's a tricky one, though.
I'm gonna take the Packers, bro. I'm gonna take the Packers.
Okay.
Rams, Lions. This is a good game. This seems like a script type game.
This is the upset one for me. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Rams. I love their running. I love Kyron Williams. You saw the Rams play the Ravens real tough a couple weeks ago. I think their defense is underrated, and they're one of them young teams that are just too stupid to even know. Like the Texans and the Rams to me are the two teams that remind me of 2021 Bengals that just have no care in the world and ready to go. I think the Lions got a lot of pressure on them. I'm going Rams.
I'm going to go with the Lions, and I know that that's going to sound crazy because I know at the beginning of the season I wasn't a believer in the Lions with the preseason hype. I feel like they kind of proved it. So I'm going to go with them, even though they did lose the tight end. So that's going to be a big loss for them. But
that game that they lost to the Ravens sticks in my mind. Like
at home in Detroit, they got to get this dub, bro. They got to get it. If they don't get this one, then I don't know what's up with them. All right, Eagles, Buccaneers. Eagles, Bucks. Who you taking?
I'm gonna go Eagles, but it's gonna be to the gun.
Yeah, I'm going Bucks, man. I might still be mad at the Eagles because they blew that parlay for me in Vegas. All they had to do was beat the Cardinals. They couldn't do that. They looked bad last week. AJ Brown, I don't know what the injury situation is. I don't know what the injury situation is with Devonta. They just haven't looked like the same team. So I'm going to pick them for the upset. I know that that's an upset, but I'm going to take the Bucks. But with that being said, let's toss it to our good friends at Midwest Best Barbecue. Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue, 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. You can still get those wings if you are watching some playoff games. Make sure you watch them at Midwest Best Barbecue in Loveland, Ohio. They got the best wings out there. Uno wings. They got the CTB wings. They got the Grippo wings, G-Funks. Definitely check them out. They also have barbecue as well, pulled pork, barbecue, all of that over there. So check them out. Zim, was there anything that you wanted to say before we get up out of here?
I was just gonna say, everybody keep your eye on these coaches. You know, like shout out to Pete Carroll, shout out to Nick Saban. Like, there's a lot of craziness going around. Vrabel, Belichick, kind of like you got some dominoes kind of falling all around the place. So those can impact our favorite team. So keep your eye on that stuff. And I need all those teams that I just named. I need them to win. I need the AFC North up out of there. I need the Bills. I need the Bills to go take care of business. I need the Texans to go ahead and take them, smack the Browns up, and like let's get them out the way. Then we can go take care of this other dude right here in the comments. We can pack him up very, very nicely.
He's getting packed up. He's getting packed up, and it's gonna.
We're gonna give you something special on the Wincinnati pod when y'all
make sure you guys follow the Wincinnati pod on Twitter at Wincinnati Pod. Follow Zim at Zim Hude. Follow me at New Stripe City. Hit that subscribe button and like. We appreciate it, and we will see you guys on the next episode of the Wincinnati podcast.
It's an exciting time to be a Bengals fan.
I'm Ace.
We got a special show as always.
The voice of the Bengals. Dan Willie Anderson. Corey Dillon.
The name of this thing is called Wincinnati, and I'm not going to stop.
Talk to us about that roller coaster season.
I'm still gonna give you the same AJ. I'm gonna work as hard as I can to be the best.
Always working ever since I met y'all, boy.
I gotta get your top 5 receivers. Better, man.
Good. Watch out for